Hello, everybody. I should probably put my earbuds. I should probably put my headset in, eh? How's everybody doing? Having camera issues for a little bit there. Welcome in, everybody. Marie Curie, Mods, Wendy. Nice to see you all. And everybody in the bushes. I'm going to be doing some updates. You know, true crime is a really challenging industry because everybody wants to know the latest. And so I'm always trying to decide what time to go live. And, because half of you are probably, since the numbers are down now, watching, Pascal or Bullhorn Betty or whatever, because you want to know as soon as possible. But the algorithm asks us to stay at the same time every day. So it's always challenging to know when to go live. It truly is. But watch this.
Of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie, who was abducted from her bed over the weekend in the Santa Catalina foothills, according to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos.
We saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we've processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime.
The Pima County, sorry about that. The Pima County Sheriff's Office posted on social media that they are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. And KTAR reporter Heidi Hommel is joining us this morning from Tucson to talk.
We've been live this week, so check your notification bells. Make sure that the dark, bold one is on notification. We were live twice yesterday. I tried to go live a third time, but nobody showed up for Melody Buzzard. We're going to do Jack and Lily later today at 3 p.m. I'm going to do a live tarot reading on that at 3 p.m. We're going to get into Daniel's mind. But first, we brought it here. We were one of the first here yesterday to break the news of the ransom note. And I had done a reading and said that there was a female and a male. And so I'm really curious to see. Now, there's different. The police, the sheriff has finally come out and said that there is a ransom note. So let's listen to this first. We're going to confirm there is a ransom note, and then we're going to confirm Hope. I wish Hope was here. Hope, yesterday, we're going to show you some pictures that you girls sent me. I know, honey. It's a YouTubey thing. What can I say? It's a YouTubey thing. Hope was bang on. I just was reluctant to show the pictures of Savannah Guthrie's sister and her husband because I don't want to be sued, quite frankly. But Ashley Banfield pulled it up, some evidence, and we're going to talk about that. Suzanne Guthrie's sister and her husband apparently are being investigated as suspects in the missing disappearance of her mother, Savannah Guthrie's mother, and the sister's mother. So we're going to keep listening to all this today. And at 3 p.m., I'm going to do a live poll and reading on Jack and Lily. And we're going to do a discussing of the interviews from Malaya's family that just came out yesterday or last night, middle of the night, a few hours ago.
About it. Heidi, have they indicated if they believe these or any one of these ransom notes is legit? And what are people asking for?
Good morning. Yes, the sheriff's department is taking the threat seriously. They think there's some credibility to these notes, but we don't know if they are legit. One of them went to KOLD in Tucson a couple days ago. They didn't report on it.
Hey, Donna, nice to see you. My baby's army. Hello, honey.
Got a note yesterday. We don't even know if these notes are coming from the same person. They're asking for an unspecified amount of Bitcoin, reportedly in the millions. It has a deadline. We don't know the deadline. But the most suspicious thing is that I guess there's details in one or many of these notes that only the abductor would know about the condition of Nancy's house. So it's scary, and the sheriff's department's taking it seriously.
Yeah, as far as that TMZ received note, they said that they verified that Bitcoin address is real, and they said that this alleged ransom note also describes an item that the sender says was damaged in Nancy Guthrie's home, and that's the kind of thing you look for. Is it something that only the perpetrator of the crime would know about?
Right.
Here's what I'm curious to find out. How, if her alleged abductor, how are they going to prove she's alive, right? Back in the day, you'd hold up a newspaper with the day's date on it and send it in to show that it's up to date. That could be AI nowadays. In today's technology age, how do ransoms work? And even if the Guthrie family, if this ransom's real and the Guthrie family sends the crypto money, is that untraceable now? And then this person gets away. So these ransoms it's just extremely odd circumstances.
So it's in the millions. Yesterday, I showed a picture when TMZ, I kind of zoomed in and I thought I saw 250, but it might be 50. Might have been, the two might have been a dollar sign because they said it's in the millions. So it wasn't 250,000. It's in the millions. I want to just clarify that and let's keep going. It's a crazy case. I feel pretty sad for Savannah Guthrie right now, wondering if her sister is behind this.
Surrounding this disappearance.
I know that the investigators and the sheriff are very reluctant to let any information out that might kind of alert the kidnappers that they're on to them, or that they might have some idea who they are. Were they able to give you any other information or any other developments in the story that would indicate that they're moving forward in the investigation at least?
The sheriff's department is staying very tight-lipped, as to not blow any of their leads. But some stuff we found out yesterday that the sheriff's department will not confirm is that there appears to be blood splatters outside Nancy Guthrie's front door. Now, we don't know that these are blood splatters. And the sheriff's department, they said that they sent in DNA evidence to be testing, but they did not confirm that any of those DNA samples were blood. But, it very much in photographs I've seen from outside the house where I was yesterday, looks like that's what it is. So just very scary, bizarre, tragic case. All the neighbors, the community of Catalina Foothills hoping for the safe return of their neighbor Nancy.
Yeah, and you'd imagine if they didn't believe that this was an abduction, that Nancy just maybe wandered off, although she's supposedly a very sound mind, that there would be search and rescue teams, and that there would be neighborhoods full of people, of her neighbors, out searching for her. So another sign.
That's how this case started, with search and rescue on the first day. And after 24 hours, Sheriff Nanos called it off. The Guthrie family has said Nancy can't make it 50 yards walking on her own. So they don't think, if she wandered off, she wouldn't have gotten far. And as you mentioned, she's very sharp. They don't believe that she wandered off. And there's evidence at the crime scene to indicate that she was taken.
Oops, lost her feed. That's
even if it's tiny, the tiniest thing can lead. An Enton from News Nation talking earlier and asking, kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mother, in Tucson, Arizona. I have spoken with an impeccable law enforcement source who has informed me, with his knowledge of the investigation, of some extraordinarily serious pieces of information about this crime scene. I can tell you that Mrs. Guthrie had cameras, plural, at this home, and that they were smashed. You may have heard Brian Enton from News Nation talking earlier and asking Sheriff Chris Nanos a question in the news conference. And again, today, I'm recording on February the 3rd. It's a Tuesday. The press conference that was early in the day, Brian asked the sheriff, the camera on the front of the house is missing. And the sheriff said, we are trying to get into the companies that, are proprietors of this kind of cloud information to get that, and said by today, he did not have that information, did not have whatever was recorded. But I can tell you they are Nest cameras. They are Nest cameras, plural, and that whoever did this may have smashed those cameras, plural. So they're not there, presumably because law enforcement took those smashed cameras as evidence. I can also tell you I've got information about which door in the house was actually left open. There's been some erroneous reporting about some things. I now have the information about that. I can tell you about blood in the house. I can confirm. Brian Enton has some incredible reporting and pictures of blood outside the house. He's going to join me in a moment. We're going to talk about that. I can also tell you whose car has been towed into evidence. And I can tell you that there is a family member who is being heavily looked at right now as a potential suspect. I'm going to bring that all to you in a moment. There's more information about Nancy's pacemaker. You probably have heard up until now that Nancy Guthrie had a pacemaker and it disconnected from her Apple devices, her Apple Watch, her Apple phone, which were left in the home at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And that is a significant time. And I will tell you why, that it is extraordinarily instructive to this investigation in terms of narrowing to a window. I'll explain why in a moment. Don't think that the pacemaker stopped working because she died. That's not it.
No, I said this. I thought that the pacemaker was a location thing, and that's what Jennifer Coffendorfer said. I'm going to show you some of the pictures that we posted yesterday. I'm going to start doing more posts. We did 2 lives, so I didn't want to go live again with more updates, so I did a post. I'll show you some of those in a second, but it could tell, it tells us that after 2 p.m., she wasn't close enough, or 2 a.m. rather, Sunday morning, she wasn't close enough to the house for the pacemaker to sink. And as far as the helicopter, yeah, Brian Etten reported that live a couple days ago. Yeah, he's the prime suspect right now. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. So let's keep watching. And JLR did not break that. Ashley Banfield broke it. So let's give credit where credit is due, please.
Separation of Bluetooth between the things that the pacemaker was linked to, the Apple Watch and the phone. When they get out of range, you take your AirPods, you walk out, you leave an AirTag behind, you get a notice, you're disconnected. That's more what this is about, but the timing of it is specific to narrow down the investigative window. So I'm going to get into all the details of all of these little pieces of information that I told you, because I've just touched the tip of the iceberg, but I also want to get you up to speed on all the information that came out today from a few different sources. Number one, from the sheriff himself, who held a news conference and answered questions. And then also from Brian Enton, because he got some great information. And as I mentioned, he's going to be up in just a moment with me. We're going to talk about all his findings. So John Edwards is the assistant special agent in charge of the FBI in Tucson. He joined Sheriff Chris Nanos for the news conference today. Again, it's February 3rd, Tuesday. They held this update, but they didn't give a lot of information. They just said, basically, this is to answer your questions in the press. And I can tell you that we found out this is not a gated community. Okay, that was one report that came out. It's not a gated community. It's also very dark and there are no streetlights. So very hard to see anything that might have been driving up and down those roads. The properties are huge, right? They're anywhere between 1 and 4 acres each. So
we actually reported here. Yeah, great for Ashley Banfield. We actually reported here that we heard it was gated. So I'm glad to hear that it wasn't gated.
More rural, don't think city, lit up, neighbor to neighbor sees everything. Your ring cam can see the street. It's not like that. Not everybody's ring cam can actually see the street from where they are on these big properties. The sheriff today said Nancy Guthrie's life is in jeopardy. Could be a couple of reasons he said that. Number one, medications were left behind in the home. Medications that she would need within 24 hours could be fatal. And it's now 72 hours since the last time she was seen. So that could be why he said her life's in jeopardy. Or he could have said it because I now have definitive sourced information saying that there was in fact blood inside and outside the home. So blood inside the home is scary because we now know she was taken against her will. Kidnapped was what the sheriff told me last night when I did my episode before. So blood inside the home, kidnapped forcefully, taken forcefully. That could probably be part of the reason why her life is in jeopardy. And Brian Enton's going to show you the pictures of the blood outside the home that he discovered today as well. The media has helped generate a lot of leads, the sheriff said. That's really important. He said, if you got any information, 1-800-CALL-FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. If you know anything, even if it's tiny, the tiniest thing can lead to the biggest thing. Sheriff has said it's been helpful. They do not know what she was wearing when she was abducted, when she was kidnapped and taken from that home. They don't know if there were one or more kidnappers. Any indications she's still alive? Sheriff said, no idea. Can't tell you that. Is there a threat to the public? We were a little confused by the answer before. I think what he was trying to say was that we feel like this is an unusual circumstance. We don't think that this is going to be a serial kidnapping or whatever else has happened to Mrs. Guthrie, but there's someone out there that did this. So yeah, the threat is out there. He's not going to go as far as they did in Idaho early on and say there's no threat to the public, because Brian Koberger was out there for, over 6 weeks and he's a threat to the public, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like there was no threat. It didn't feel like there was a big threat. So take that the way you will. Were there any valuables taken, ATM cards? Sheriff would not say. Sheriff wouldn't say was there forced entry. I can tell you definitively there was absolutely forced entry. The pacemaker information, they didn't want to talk a lot about it, but I will tell you, my reporting, my source says that the 2 a.m. separation, when the pacemaker stopped responding to the devices it was connected to, the Apple phone, the Apple Watch, that is the time they are narrowing down this kidnapping to. Yes, she was last seen at 9:45, but the kidnapping, they are pegging it to that moment, because that is when the pacemaker that's inside the girl, the woman, the elderly mother who was taken out of that house.
I know what you mean, Donna. I don't know, man. The first reading I did seems like it was, other than the medical staff, it could have been a medical emergency, right? The cards seem like, I don't know. I know what you mean. I'm hoping not as well, but I don't know. I get a male and a female energy in this. I don't know.
Separated. And so that is what they are now narrowing the disappearance time down to, according to my law enforcement source with knowledge of this investigation. Pacemaker separates 2 a.m. That's when they believe the actual kidnapping happened. The house was turned back over to the family yesterday after 6 p.m. Again, that would be Monday, February 2nd. They processed everything. Crime scene tape went up, done with the residents, turned back over to the family, but nobody washed the blood off the front steps up to the front door. And Brian Enton was able to go up and look at it because it's not a crime scene anymore. You're going to talk to Brian in a moment about that. I think I mentioned this before, but if I didn't, they are waiting for the camera information and very frustrated. Police are very frustrated by how long it's taking to get.
I mean, that's a significant amount of blood. And now Ashley is saying that there's blood in the home as well. So this is really devastating. We have to pray for, I mean, God Almighty. Apparently, if she's not returned by Monday, she's going to be killed. They want the money or the money is not in their bank account. It's like, I'll show you the clip. It says Thursday and then it says Monday of the ransom note. I've got a visual here of the ransom note actually says. So it was very scary. Is it a legit ransom note? Is she still alive? I mean, a lot of things need to be worked on very, very quickly here.
The Nest company, I learned that it is the Nest company. It's not Ring Cams, it's not Ring.com. It's Nest cameras that were out front that were smashed. They are waiting for the corporate Nest executives to yield that information back to the sheriff. Listen, 72 hours. It's been a long time. I can understand why the sheriff would be frustrated that it's taking this long. This was at, again, 1:30 today. It's about 7 hours ago. So that might have happened in the last 7 hours. Maybe the sheriff has that camera information now. And with those cameras being smashed, right? That's evidence. All of that is evidence, right? What was the tool used to smash them? What did it look like? All of that. And so when Brian Enton asked the sheriff, the cameras are missing, and the sheriff wouldn't go there, clearly the police have taken those cameras, smashed as evidence, and those are now in evidence lockup as part of this investigation. But again, I can't reiterate enough how dark this area is. No streetlights, dark and rural.
Oh no, honey.
Whoever smashed those cameras
Welcome in,
very well have
Joni.
been completely cloaked, and that may not help a lot. Maybe you'll see someone's gate. Maybe the exterior lights were off on the home. Who knows? Depends on what kind of Nest cam she has. Does it show night vision? I mean, there's lots of different levels that you can get. Who knows what information that will yield? Whoever smashed those cameras, what will we see? What kind of...
Okay, can we try to, I'm going to try to ignore the chat because I can't keep getting interrupted with side comments. We're never going to get through this. The pictures of her arm, Donna being bruised, those go way back. So she was on blood thinners, yes. But those pictures of the bruises go way, way, way back. Years ago, you can see her arms have bruises on them when she was visiting the Today Show. So yeah, apparently she's on blood pressure medication and heart medication. Let's listen to the focus here, please.
You know, right-handed, left-handed, walking up. What was the gait? Does it look like a man? Does it look like a woman? Hopefully that could have been ascertained before the cameras actually ended up being smashed. It's very, very disturbing because that is so completely planned, right? This isn't some random, drug addict who's just looking to rob a house. This is something far more premeditated. If the cameras, plural, are smashed, whoever did this knew there was more than one. I am going to have all of this for you in exquisite detail in just a minute. I do have to just tell you this. I have sponsors that make this podcast possible, and I just want to free down. Okay, back to the information on the case. The investigation is not yielding enough money for the sheriff to feel as though he needed to give more regular updates because he said, I'm not giving another one for 2 days. Not until Thursday, February the 5th. Today's the Tuesday, the 3rd, unless warranted, unless something happens.
Yeah, I was supposed to I had plans for today, which is why I said I might not be on today, and those got postponed to Friday. So Friday, I'm going to be doing some tarot readings. I'm going to do one live one this afternoon on Jack and Lily and get inside what's going on inside Daniel's mind. And I'll do more updates, tarot readings for Friday. And then tomorrow we'll do another live. Okay. That's the plan for now because my plans have been moved. They were moved from today to Friday. So to Friday, I won't be doing a live. Okay. That's the last update. Let's keep watching.
Something happened today when Brian Enton was standing right outside in front of Nancy Guthrie's house that was unique and interesting and may have been information tipped. I'll tell you that in a moment, and I'll show you the pictures from the sky. There was a chopper up ahead. So I'll tell you that in just a moment. But it was super fascinating that the sheriff wouldn't confirm blood evidence, but Brian Enton confirmed it outside, and I have confirmed it inside. There was blood inside the home. There was blood outside the home. So let me get to some of Brian Enton's amazing reporting as well before I give you a little bit more of what my law enforcement source has told me, especially about the prime suspect and the car that was towed. That's very, very distressing. Brian also learned about forced entry into the house, and he learned of the 2 alleged ransom notes. We're going to talk at length about that. One went to TMZ, one went to a local TV station in Tucson. We have thoughts. Lots of people have thoughts. The sheriff has some thoughts, apparently. But I'll talk to Brian about that in a moment, and I will read for you what those are. I'm also going to tell you this, that the sheriff was concerned enough that he put out a statement with a QR code. Okay, let me read this. Sheriff said, we are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes, plural. It's ransom note, parentheses S, so a note or notes, regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We are taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives who are coordinating with the FBI. We encourage anyone who may have information, any information, or tips to share via this QR code. So he answered the question too during the press conference when he was asked about, were there ransom notes? Has anybody reached out to Savannah Guthrie or her family? Who takes an 84-year-old woman? What's the point? It would seem like they'd want something. And he didn't say no. He just said the same thing that you just heard. We're looking at all leads. So they may have looked at the TMZ lead right before that press.
Okay. That has since come out and has been confirmed. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Wendy. I want to also say, I keep stopping. I'm so sorry, but there's always so much to say. It's impossible to remember it all. Don't ever worry about sending me stuff. Okay. Wendy, my dear, love you. I know I have PTSD, but that's up to me to manage. And I'll just get out of my inbox and not check it regularly if I'm feeling pressured, right? So I need and rely on you, ladies and gentlemen, to send me stuff because it's impossible to have eyes everywhere. Not only that, because of the way the algorithm works, you probably all have access to information. One, I'm not on Facebook, TikTok, or anything else. And you all probably are directed towards other creators in the algorithm and other information. It's literally impossible, especially since I want to expand on the cases we cover. I didn't understand, Don, I meant to email you yesterday. I didn't understand what Gypsy said about an update on Sebastian. If you know that, are you still doing modding for Crime Time Buzz? If you are, let me know what's going on with Sebastian, because I can't find what she said and I don't understand what she was saying yesterday. We got Jack and Lily we're trying to cover updates on Melody Buzzard. We've got so many things out there. There's so much craziness going on in the true crime world. In fact, the way it started in 2026 between the Tepe, which is another thing I wanted to update on, and this case, it's like true crime is going to be, I just get the feeling this is going to be, 2026 is going to be like this. It's going to be nonstop stuff coming out, man. So it's impossible to have eyes everywhere. The minute I think I want to do an update on something new comes out, it's impossible. So your tips and your emails are invaluable. So never feel bad about those. I always welcome those, to mods, to anybody. Yeah, chaos cry. That's why Donna's like, could you please give us a time between my own life, because I was supposed to babysit my grandson because my daughter's shift changed, and that got moved again. It's like and Grizzly said this when she was interviewed. Like, somebody asked her, what are you doing next? It's like, I don't know. It's true crime. It's like, you got to go with the flow by the minute, it's always changing. It's always fly by the seat of your pants. And so that's why hopefully you guys will start to get notifications. If you're not getting notifications, unsubscribe, resubscribe on the notification. Okay, I'm done talking. Let's get to this, or we're never going to get through this live. But I will see those that are interested in Jack and Lily, and I'm going to do a tarot poll. What's going on inside Daniel's mind? You can ask questions. We're also going to cover the interviews from Alea's family since his arrest. Okay, let's go.
Conference, and they weren't ready to say whether they thought it was legit or just some hoaxer. And maybe the Tucson TV station got one as well. It's a scam artist born every day. So, by the way, very illegal, very traceable. We'll get to that. Okay. Savannah put out a post today, and the Today Show, obviously this is their colleague. I'm a colleague of Savannah's. I worked with Savannah for years. We've been friends for years. We've done charity events together. She's dear. She's very dear to me, and it's breaking my heart that she is down there where she grew up in Tucson, trying to find her mom. And she gave
She's
the Today Show a state.
Friggin' sweet and adorable. Her energy is precious. I mean, it reminds me of the Monique Tepe here, where somebody had a beef. I don't know, potentially, because we saw the royalty on my first pick card come up. It's like, I don't know, man. She and her sister, she herself said, are completely diabolically opposite. And when you look at the pictures of them side by each, Their energy is exactly opposite. She is just a princess, a sweetheart. You can tell from her energy, just a pure, genuine soul. And I feel horrible for her in this.
About where they stand at this point. This is how the Today Show aired it.
Chanel is in for Savannah once again, who remained with her family in Arizona.
Good morning, and that is where we begin this morning. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, and a beloved part of our Today family. Authorities in Arizona now saying the 84-year-old appears to be the victim of an abduction.
Overnight, Savannah posting this image on Instagram. Please pray. She went on to write, we believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love, in hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in him.
She added, thank you for lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment. She goes on to say, we need you. Bring her home.
And obviously, Savannah's not on the Today Show. She wasn't on yesterday either. And she will not be going to Italy to do the Winter Olympics. This is huge for Savannah. This is every 4 years. It is one of the biggest assignments. The amount of prep that it takes to do the Olympics, it's weeks and weeks and weeks of work. And she's not going. And someone is going to have to take her place and get up to speed and cover for her. But how heartbreaking that is that she's not going to be able to do that. And she will not be at the Winter Olympics at all for that coverage. Helicopters showed up above Brian Enton while he was doing a live report today above Nancy Guthrie's house. And it was the sheriff's helicopter. And there was a guy hanging out of it. And it was low. It was low enough to see him hanging out of it and looking around. And that wasn't the only emergency vehicle either. I'm going to tell you about that when I talk to Brian. It was another vehicle.
I mean, he was in the middle of doing his interview. I was watching and he's like, hey guys, I gotta go. Look at this. There's a helicopter hovering overhead. He was like really into the helicopter. It was really interesting to watch. It was like, we're done here. Something big's going on. I gotta go check it out.
Vehicle that was law enforcement related, and it does speak volumes to what might have happened that sent those two vehicles out, the helicopter and the pickup truck. I'll tell you that in a moment. First, let me tell you some devastating stuff. So my law enforcement source tells me that the back door of the Guthrie home was the door that was left wide open. Was it the point of entry?
Back door.
Was it the point of egress?
Back door. Okay, everybody, let me know, but first, before we keep going here, do you think Nancy Guthrie is still alive? Yes or no?
Know that. But it was open, wide open, and it was in the back, not the front. Brian Enton saw blood at the front door. So did a struggle happen at the front door? Was there a doorbell rung at 2 a.m.? Why was the back door open? A lot of questions there. But the back door, according to my law enforcement source, was left wide open. I told you already.
Thank you, Donna, honey.
Blood inside the house. My law enforcement source told me that police have now towed and impounded the vehicle belonging to Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie Guthrie. This is important because you've heard that the last point of contact with Nancy Guthrie was when she was dropped off by her daughter at 9:45-ish at night on Saturday night. So Annie Guthrie and possibly her husband as well, Tommaso Cioni, were the last people to see her at 9:45 at night, Saturday night. Sunday morning, 11 a.m., church members reached out to the family. Hey, your mom wasn't in church. Not normal. She's always there. What's up? Family member goes over, calls, family member or members goes to the house, calls 911, and the investigation begins. But they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. And there is some connection to Annie Guthrie's car and Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. That would be Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, age 50, from Tucson, Arizona, married to Annie P. Guthrie, Savannah's sister. And my law enforcement source tells me that Tommaso Cioni is the prime suspect in this case. Again, law enforcement source tells me that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, is maybe a prime suspect in this case. At the very least, let me tamp that down, because sometimes it's the first person you're looking at, not prime as in there's no one else. Okay, so let's be really mindful of that. Families are always looked at first as well. It doesn't mean right away. Listen, Ed Smart was targeted for weeks as, without question, somebody they needed to look at. Possible suspect, right? Heartbreaking for Ed and Lois Smart, because it wasn't them who took Elizabeth, right? But that's what happens. When anything happens like this, familial abductions, the families looked at first, and Annie and or Tommaso Cioni were the last people to see Nancy Guthrie at 9:45 at night, the night before she disappeared, abducted, kidnapped. Kidnapped was the word that the sheriff used with me. But it's very distressing to think that they that this law enforcement source is telling me that Tommaso Cioni is maybe a prime suspect in this case at this point, and that the car belonging to Annie has been towed and impounded and is in evidence. That's the word that was used with me. This law enforcement source also
Well, that's what I would say, Marie. I would say, listen, yeah, I heard, well, I didn't hear that they created a song about loving murder, but I heard that he was in a grunge band, like really grungy lyrics and stuff, you know? But they are not providing proof of life. Well, do we know that for sure? Donna, do you know that for sure? But Marie, you're right. Like either the ransom is fake and it's someone else, or she's alive and the ransom is real, right? But man, that seems like a lot of blood. But then why remove her from the home? You know, not yet. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. Let's keep watching this. And then I'll show you a screenshot here. Let me pull it up. Let me just see. Hang on. I'll stop this. I'm going to show you now. I'll pull that back up in a second. Hang on. Whoops. Hang on. For the love of God. Where is it? Here, let me show you this. Here we get a little insight into, whoops. Why does it do that? For the love of God. The minute you try to put something up on your screen, even though you've got it not playing, it just wants to start playing. Okay, so here we go. I stopped it here deliberately so you could see. According to the Scripps News in Tucson, they received a ransom note referencing Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mother. It makes a specific demand for several $1 million in Bitcoin by Thursday and threatens to kill her if payment is not received by Monday. It also makes specific reference to 2 pieces of evidence at the crime scene, which we cannot authenticate as legitimate. Kagan has forwarded the full contents of the note to investigators and authorities. So listen, we have confirmed from the sheriff, that they smashed and took the Ring cameras, Marie Curie, which is why I was saying, well, if they had inside Ring cameras, they would know who did it. Well, they removed them and took them with them. So originally, we weren't sure if the ransom note was being confirmed as legitimate by, so I'm going a little out of order, but I do want to show you that they legitimate. Oh, gotta love StreamYard. Gotta love StreamYard when it boots you out of your own it boots you out of your own live stream. No sound? Hang on. Jesus Christ. Gotta love StreamYard. Yeah. Look at, so here we go. We're going to go back to Ashley Banfield in a second, but just to keep everybody's, understanding while we watch Ashley Banfield, of what's going on correct. We did not know when we broke yesterday whether or not the sheriff had confirmed it to be true. And apparently they have now confirmed that there is a ransom note as part of the investigation. Listen up.
We are learning about a possible new clue in the search for the mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie this morning. Authorities are looking into whether a ransom note sent to a local TV station there in Arizona is legitimate. Jonathan Vigliotti spoke with a Pima County sheriff who said they felt compelled to share the note with Guthrie's family.
The thousands of tips that you get, you don't show everything.
Well, no,
to them.
because some of them just don't have any.
This rose to the
sure
level.
it does. Sure does. It's more threatening. You guys asked, was there any threats? This was pretty threatening.
Jared Hill joins me here in studio now. He's been following this heartbreaking case since it broke. Jared,
Donna.
what do we know?
Errol, investigators said that they had hoped to keep this purported ransom note under wraps, at least until TMZ reported they too received what seems to be a ransom note. While the legitimacy is still a question, investigators say that they are taking this and every piece of evidence seriously as they search for Nancy Guthrie.
We don't know where she is.
Critical questions as the search for Nancy Guthrie, mom of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, stretches into a fourth day.
We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home against her will.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos confirms to CBS News an apparent ransom note sent to a local TV station is now a part of the investigation. In it, specific details about the 84-year-old's home and what she was wearing the night she went missing, but he would not confirm its authenticity.
It's like any piece of evidence. You give it to us. You give us a lead. We're going to look at every aspect of that lead and work it as a lead.
TMZ says it also received a note demanding millions of dollars in
Abs-
Bitcoin.
yeah, for sure,
forwarding it to
Joni.
the sheriff. This, as CBS News cameras captured what appears to be a small amount of blood outside of Nancy Guthrie's house. Nanos says a little bit of blood was found inside the home.
I mean, do you call that a small amount of blood? I mean, it's not a massive amount of blood, but I wouldn't call it small amount either. Yeah, I think she did too, Joni. I know it seems like a lot of a house for an 84-year-old, but you know, she was rumored to be quite wealthy herself. So, hey, my grandmother did the same thing. Not nearly as big a home, but she lived till she was 93. My dad's mom, she had an amazing pension. My grandfather was up on the board of directors for Health Canada. He was a scientist. He had his PhD, and she had a very good he had a really good pension, and she had caregivers come. She refused to go to the hospital and help her clean and do groceries and take her out to do errands. And yeah, so it happens
As well.
We've submitted all kinds of samples for DNA, and we've gotten some.
Yeah,
back,
she
but
was on
nothing
blood
to indicate
thinners.
any suspects.
The FBI is assisting
they?
conducting interviews and analyzing local cell phone data. The agency
Yeah.
also asking for the public's help.
Every lead and tip is important.
Where did you get that? I'm trying to stay on topic. I truly am. So I'm going to ignore the chat for a little bit so we can keep going here. But I don't know where you heard that. But if you have something that you heard and you can remember where you heard it, include that. That'd be great, because I don't like to, which is why I didn't put Hope's pictures up yesterday. I'm sorry, Hope, when she comes in. She was right. Hope's got incredible instincts. She was right about the son-in-law, and you guys sent this to me yesterday. I'll show you the post we made, but I didn't want to jump into accusations, particularly when you're talking about a celebrity family and her sister being allegedly and husband being investigated. You know, I didn't want to put that out there, but it's been confirmed now. So it's crazy. So keep listening. We're going to go back to Ashley Banfield and then a few other videos.
Aggressively pursuing and looking into every single one.
As the search continues, the sheriff says he does not believe the broader community is in danger. The sheriff also says surveillance video hasn't yielded any clues yet. They're trying to recover any possible footage that might have auto-deleted. Meanwhile, yesterday, President Trump said he is planning on calling Savannah Guthrie, describing the situation, Errol, as terrible.
Yeah. All right, Jared, thank you very much. For more on what investigators might be looking into, we're joined now by Doug Coons, founder and CEO of Veracity and a former special agent and supervisory special agent of the FBI. Good morning.
I agree, Donna. He's not hard to look at. I didn't even look at him earlier, but I'm like, wow, he's cute.
Doug, so give us your take here. How does this apparent ransom note, the legitimacy is still being looked into, but if it does turn out to be real, how does it change the investigation?
Well, it's like the sheriff said, it's another piece of evidence, and it's treated as such. They're still working on authenticating it. You know, some of the details, my understanding is that they knew things about the crime scene that were not made public yet. That still doesn't automatically jump you to authenticating it. So it's going to be run to ground just like any other piece of evidence. You're going to look at the when, where, what, how, why. Where did it come from? Who might have sent it? Who did it go to? How was it sent? All those things have to be answered. And if it is then authenticated, perhaps that starts a dialogue with whoever's responsible. But the concern is this is public. Other people know that you have a missing person,
See her
and
arms?
anybody can
See her arms, Donna? See how bruised this is? So yeah, these pictures of her arms go bruised go way back. Like I looked at several photos when she appeared on the Today Show with Savannah as a guest. Apparently it happened fairly frequently. I'm Canadian, so don't watch CBS Morning News, but see that she absolutely, my grandmother had that one, had blood issues as well, very easily bruised. So my dad too, as he got older.
send in a ransom note and say, yeah, it was us, and we want these millions of dollars in crypto. And you just can't assume that that is accurate.
Right. You'd hate for investigators to be distracted as they race to find and save Nancy. Let's just wonder that if there is a demand for money, does that mean the victim may be better treated? Because we do know that Nancy is at least without her medication, which she does need.
It's possible. It's hard to speculate on that because every criminal, every person that would do something like that is different. You don't know about their emotional state, about their desperation. There's so many factors. It's hard to answer that question. The medication, and that's certainly of concern. You know, this isn't just a minor thing. It's something that she needs to survive, and that will certainly play a factor. And perhaps that will push this along faster than it might have gone. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
So I'm going to pull out my spidey sense here, which is one of the things I wanted to talk to Donna about with the change in this channel's direction. Historically, Nancy Guthrie did not come from wealth. After her husband Charles died in the 1980s, she raised Savannah and her two siblings as a single mother. Savannah has frequently credited her mother's selflessness and sacrifice for allowing her to pursue a journalism career. Nothing to the family, could not afford college dorms at the time. Wow, thank you for the update, Donna. Thank you, honey. Yeah, my spidey sense yesterday, I said, I feel like if a ransom note's coming, it's today and not like an hour or a few hours later after I said that on the live stream. Did that note not come forward? So I don't know. I don't know, man. I want to do, so my question here is, I'm trying to, you know, I want to do intuitive stuff, but not just tarot. And I'm trying to figure out a direction of doing lives that include intuitive stuff, you know, because, yeah, thank you, Donna, as well. But anyway, we can talk about that another day because it's just, yeah, anyways. Let's go back to Ashley's video here. We've got a couple others, but we have confirmed, and I have confirmed, and other ways, other sources, that this reporting is accurate. By the way, let's go.
Said to me, who has a motive to kidnap an 84-year-old woman? The way it was described to me is that's a burden, right? It's a burden to kidnap an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues needing medication. That is a burden. And then this law enforcement source said,
yesterday I said, Faye, I said, I feel like this person wants attention. And I feel like I'm right there. I feel like this person got really pissed off about the media news release. And we don't know that the family doesn't have a ransom note just because that hasn't been reported. We don't know whether or not they sent this directly to them. Yeah, he said it had to be a 2-person effort. Yeah, well, that's what I said. I think it's got to be 2 people at least. That's what I was saying yesterday. Like, you got to remember, I think they have her medication. I think that they may have taken some extra medication, which is why I said if I were the police, I would be counting what's left in her bottle and go back to the day that it was refilled and see if they took some pills with her, especially if the daughter's involved in this. Does the daughter really want to kill her mother? Did they intend on her getting hurt? Sent to the news stations in the area. Yeah, ransom letters were sent here's where I feel bad, because we ran with it first outside, as far as I could see in my circle of reference on YouTube. Right after TMZ, we were sort of the first to run with it. And that's because I trust TMZ. You know, they used to be, you feel it's a distraction. Yeah, I don't. But hey, who will find out, right? I don't. I think it's legitimate. I said that yesterday too. I feel it's legitimate. And I said I felt that they were deliberately waiting until they knew that this would be imminently dangerous for Nancy without her medication. Um, and so that's why they wanted it to go to the press, because the police have said that they originally did not want to confirm this because they were hoping it wouldn't get reported, and then TMZ went and reported it, and so they've had to come back out and say, yeah, we got the note. They didn't originally want to, because I think this person wanted it to go viral so that the pressure is on, and the emergency of the pressure is now forefront, if that makes sense. That's what I picked up on intuitively yesterday. And I'm going to continue and want to delve not just into tarot, but when we're live here and I get an intuitive hit, I'm not saying I'm right all the time, but shit, my first reading on this is 50-60% bang on. The medical staff came out. Now, whether that was a medical emergency or that was referring to the pacemaker, I don't really know. But the other parts of it came out, and my spidey sense, when I said yesterday, I feel like they're going to come out with a ransom note. If they have her and there's a ransom note, it's going to come out today, that they were deliberately waiting for her, Nancy, to be in imminent danger health-wise. And I do sense that they wanted this to go viral, which is why they deliberately sent it, because now the pressure, that police sheriff, gosh, I have so much empathy for him. You could tell, and he has said it, and he has told us that he's not used to the mainstream media. He's used to his local news. He doesn't do well in press briefings. He's used to just speaking off the cuff, and he wasn't used to being grilled. And he went on every night, that first night after he came out, and did all the news stations, podcasts. And then he came out yesterday and he said, "Thank you, honey. Thank you, Marie. I appreciate that." I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying I'm trying to be authentic to myself while growing the channel. And it's hard. Like, when I get hits, I want to say that, because that's who I am. You know, I live my whole life on hits all the time, and sometimes they're not accurate and sometimes they are. Um I don't think they want to be infamous. I really picked up on this being money and the money issue, and there's some anger and animosity there, I think, towards Savannah, because of the royalty, or towards Nancy herself, crown coming out. So I'm not sure about that. But anyways, all that to say, I want to pull harder on my intuitive stuff. And I want you guys and gals to use your intuition too, because for me, it's such an important life skill, especially nowadays, right? Especially nowadays. And, you know, I heard there was some issues with religion. Well, I heard Tara say that. I don't normally follow other people's readings, but I'm not sure I can confirm that, just because it was a reading. I don't confirm my readings to be factual either. But that's what Tara got, but I haven't heard it anywhere else. So yeah, let's see if, you know, again, that's the balance I'm trying to create here, Donna, which is really hard. Is about intuitive hits versus true reporting, right? Because you have to be careful. Okay, let's finish up here.
So you look at people who would have a benefit to an 84-year-old woman going away, disappearing, or dying. Sometimes it's somebody who has an insurance benefit from that. Sometimes it's somebody who may benefit because there's a debt, and that may be helpful. These are just musings. They are not evidence, okay? But they are musings from people I trust implicitly due to their longevity in the business of investigating this exact kind of thing. I told you already about the pacemaker information. The law enforcement sources have narrowed it down to the kidnapping happening at 2 a.m. based on the pacemaker stopping at 2 a.m. That's when they believe Nancy was taken from that house. All forms of DNA were submitted, right? But the sheriff himself said that it came back. Like, so far, the details that have come back have not pointed to a suspect, which tells them that it was likely Nancy's blood, not a suspect. Or at least nothing has come back yet to point to a suspect regarding the blood. My law enforcement source said that they will be searching every single cell phone ping, the geofencing, all the rest. This source told me that this is someone who knew where the cameras were, somebody who was familiar with this home, this premises, this woman. They knew where the cameras were in order to smash those Nest cameras, plural. Okay. And as far as the TMZ ransom note, my source says that they don't believe that this is real. They think it's just troublemakers trying to insert themselves into this story. Could that change? Yes. Just want to give you a little bit of information on Thomas Sioni, Annie Guthrie's husband, whom at this point I am told again may be a prime suspect in this case. He's 50, from Tucson. His bio from a website that's an Italian website, an official Italian website for the Taparulan Society, Cultural Association, the Taparulan Cultural Association, a nonprofit focused on promoting contemporary artists. His bio says, I was born in San Giovanni, Valderno on June 18, 1975. Since 2006, I have lived in Tucson, Arizona. I write when I have the chance. I study lizards. I play the electric bass. I make homemade pasta. LinkedIn reports that Thomas Sioni is a teacher at Basis Oro Valley School from 2007 until present. Says he's a primary instructor for 6th grade science and AP biology. Reverb Nation, that's a music website, says that he put out an album with a 3-man music group called Early Black. Music is apparently available, but that's all I know about Annie Guthrie's husband, who, again, one law enforcement source, very connected, highly regarded, impeccable credentials, knowledge of this investigation, says that Tommaso Sioni, Annie P. Guthrie's husband, may be the prime suspect in this case, and Annie's vehicle has been towed, impounded, and is now in evidence. Very distressing. So Brian Enton is with me from News Nation. He's been doing some incredible work since landing on the ground in Tucson. Brian, you have done, again, some outstanding reporting out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. When the crime scene was turned over to the family, you found a blood trail.
Yeah, we did. And I was kind of surprised, Ashley, that it was not a crime scene anymore. I don't know why I just expected that they would still have some tape outside. You know, when you cover these things, they'll have like one police car that stays behind. Everybody left. I mean, it was just empty, except there were some, what I thought were family members coming and going today. I don't know who they were. So we decided, like, let's just go knock on the door and see if anybody is home, you know, just to kind of see what's going on, since it's not a crime scene. It's all open back up. And so walking up to the front door, you could see that there was blood right outside the front door on the ground, like on the stoop right there, right near the front mat going in. Just, you know, not a ton of blood, but it was definitely blood. It was all right there. And then when you looked up, you could see where the camera was, right by, like, almost like where it looked like a doorbell, but it was a camera, and the camera was gone.
Well, and my information from my source is that those cameras were smashed, not just the front one. There was a second one. Whoever did this knew there were two, smashed them. So presumably
Oh, Hope, you're here. No worries. Yeah, you're going to have to unsubscribe and resubscribe and see if you get the notifications, because they just aren't working. Hope, honey, I was just saying, I'm sorry. I didn't want to put out your pictures yesterday without validation, particularly, you know, you don't want to accuse a famous person's sibling of anything, but it looks like you might have been right, honey. They're investigating the sisters and her husband or boyfriend. In this crime.
The fact that you saw that they're gone means that the police took them for evidence.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, though, is when I asked the sheriff, I was at the press conference, and I asked the sheriff, we noticed that the camera is gone in the front. Do you think the perpetrator took the camera? He said, we noticed that too, and all of that is under investigation. So it was kind of strange. Like, he didn't give me an answer. Like, was it the perpetrator who took the camera? Was it the police who took the camera? But he acknowledged that they also noticed that the camera was gone.
I think he's having to answer in real time to, you know, investigative information and evidence that he doesn't want out there, probably. And having to, you know, tap dance in front of live cameras, which is really hard. I mean, this is a small place. Tucson has barely had, you know, massive crime. I think one of the biggest things was Gabby Giffords, like, 15, 20 years ago. So this is a lot. This is a big crime for them to process, and the media attention is sort of stifling. You know, it's really, really hard. Let's just talk a little bit about that blood trail a little bit before we go more into the cameras. But
okay, so today's Wednesday, February 4th. If this is legitimate, the money has been demanded. If you're just coming in, we showed a screenshot. The money was demanded to be arriving. They were demanding it by Thursday, tomorrow. And if not by Monday, the latest, they were going to kill Nancy, if it's true. So I'm guessing. And the sheriff's also vowed to do an update tomorrow, Thursday. So we are going to be live covering updates tomorrow. But I have a feeling this is going to wrap up by tomorrow. I just have a feeling we're going to hear an arrest or something by tomorrow. I'm just saying.
You find the blood trail at the front door. The front door is closed. At least it is now. My law enforcement source has told me the back door was wide open, which sort of gives you just so many questions. Is that where the perpetrator came in? Is that where the perpetrator went out with Mrs. Guthrie? Did Mrs. Guthrie answer the front door at 2 a.m. and there was a pitched fight and that's why the blood is there? Because I think you mentioned the blood doesn't go further out along the stones to the driveway.
Yeah, that's right. We looked and it was just in that area near the door. It's not like there were droplets that went out to where the driveway is or even in the driveway, which made me think, I mean, did they take Miss Guthrie out the front? And like you said, the back door being open, maybe they came in the back and took her out the front and into a car. And maybe that's why the blood just stopped right there. We just don't know.
I will tell you this in my half-hour-long conversation with the sheriff last night. I said,
I love
so
you, ladies.
Think that perhaps when you say Mrs. Guthrie was taken out of that home, she did not walk out of that home. Are you telling me she was carried over the threshold of the front door? And he said, I did not say the front door. So that was a clue to me. Wait, okay. Not the front door.
And then I learned today
that the back door is open. So I am very curious.
Oh
there were some erroneous reports about Mrs. Guthrie was dragged from her bed. The sheriff actually put out a statement saying that is not what I said. So we, at this point, the sheriff was walking back anybody who reported she was dragged from her bed. We don't know if the bedroom was, the epicenter of this crime yet. We don't know if there's ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and Mrs. Guthrie comes down at 2 a.m. What's going on? And something happens at the front. But why then would the back door be wide open? It's very, very confounding. Why would the blood be in the front, but the back door is open? Or did they, like you said, come in the back door, go up to the bedroom, but then take her out the front?
Yeah, and I'm just looking behind because there's more cars in the driveway now. Step out of the way. You see that white Volvo, and then there's a truck. I think they've maybe brought security people in to just kind of keep an eye on the house. But one thing that you don't know until you're here, I didn't realize, is this isn't like a normal neighborhood, actually. It's right in the foothills. Every house, I would say, is on at least an acre, maybe 2, 3, or 4 acres. They're almost like little ranches. And it's pitch, we've got our lights on for, because we're doing our camera work, but it's pitch black out here. There is not one light out here. And, it's a ways to the next house. So I'm just thinking if they came in through the back door, to take her out the back door, though, it's not like there'd be a little alley back there. I mean, there's like cactus. This is not, it's like kind of wildland out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But whoever smashed the cameras maybe thought it would be an easier way to get in the back door to smash a camera without being seen, go in the back and then maybe smash the front camera from the inside of the house coming out. Who knows? I mean, but whoever it was, my law enforcement source said they knew there were those cameras and where they were in order to smash them. We're getting to that in a bit, but helicopters overhead while you were doing your live shot earlier today. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there was a sheriff helicopter that got very, very low over the house with 2 men looking out and down. And my first thought was like, oh, sometimes they'll just kind of come by to come look real quick and then they'll leave. But they stayed for over an hour over the house and then across the street. And then in like kind of, again, it's almost like fields out here, but with a lot of cactuses in the vicinity of the house, very low looking around. And then we saw a search and rescue truck out here, which we hadn't seen all day. So I don't know if there was kind of like, hey, we left some stone unturned and we just want to go back out and look one more time, or if there was a specific tip that came in, something specific that they were looking for. But it was very clear that they were looking for something. Because again, at first I thought like, oh, the helicopter's doing a pass. The sheriff's office just wants to show that they're keeping an eye on the area. But no, they were searching for something.
Yeah, and I think Jennifer Coffendorfer mentioned they might have gotten called a tip, and they were out trying to find whatever it was they thought might be within the vicinity of the house. Or maybe they thought whoever took her couldn't manage for too long. And maybe there was something in the wilds. Like you said, it's pretty rural out there. The other thing that's upsetting, and I don't want to think this, is that, if you're going to leave a body somewhere, there are so many wild animals in that area at night. It's very, very hard to keep the integrity of a potential body, if there is one, intact for a long time.
How did the blood get, if they took her out the front door or back door, like is being reported? How did the blood end up at the front? Because they've confirmed that was Nancy's blood, from what I understand. They've also confirmed that there's blood inside the home. Ashley Banfield's reporting. She said at the very beginning of this podcast. So if they took her at the back door, how did the blood get on the front? My head is like going like, what happened here to cause the blood to be at the front steps if they took her out the back door? What the heck effing happened?
there was something in the wilds. Like you said, it's pretty rural out there. The other thing that's upsetting, and I don't want to think this, is that, if you're going to leave a body somewhere, there are so many wild animals in that area at night. It's very, very hard
Yeah, they
to
are.
keep the
Hope.
integrity of a potential body, if there is one, intact for a long time with all the wildlife. And let's hope that that's not the situation. The ransom notes, let's talk a little bit about that. One to TMZ that was detailed about what she was wearing, details inside the house, and then asking for Bitcoin. And another one to a local TV station. Let me see which one it is. I think it's KOLD TV in Tucson. KOLD, yeah. My law enforcement source says he's not putting a lot of stock in that. There's a lot of crazies out there that want to insert themselves. But what are you hearing from where you are?
Yeah, so you mentioned with the TMZ note, we learned that in the note there were some specifics about what Nancy was wearing and then specifics about the inside of the house, but we don't know if those are true. I mean, like that was just coming from TMZ. We don't know if it actually, is going to check out with.
Well, again, according to what Ashley just reported, this whole video we're watching of hers is based on intel she got from a detective apparently close to the investigation. And she just said that they said they left at the back door. So that's why I'm questioning. We don't nearly know for sure, but that's why I'm saying, why the blood on the front door if they left out the back door and the back door was left open?
What she was actually wearing.
Yeah, like TMZ got it. Like TMZ got that.
And it was an email, by the way.
In an email, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But is it just some lunatic who's going to be traced to charged? That, and also the sheriff said that they don't know what she was wearing. So how could anyway? That's part of the idea here is that emails can be traced.
Yeah, they can be traced. I don't know. I think the whole thing is a little weird. Like, why would the kidnapper reach out to TMZ? And then I noticed that TMZ, Harvey Levin was saying they were having a hard time getting in touch with the sheriff initially, which I just found to be kind of strange if the sheriff was taking it that seriously. But the sheriff's office did put out a statement later acknowledging these and saying that they were investigating. Yeah, there it is. And when I was at the press conference earlier, we asked, have there been any ransom notes? And I thought it was interesting. Again, the sheriff didn't answer the question. He just said, we're looking into every. And yesterday he was much more open, actually. I mean, you had him on your podcast. He was all over the place. He was answering every question. He was kind of like hard to follow it sometimes. I'm like, he was talking about his gut feeling about things. And I'm like, is it really what he's saying actually factor? Anyway, but today he was much, much more careful.
I just want to go back to
and
this.
Obviously, like I said before, they're a little bit.
If she's not found by the tomorrow, like I said, if we don't get updates, I'm going to include a reading for her on location Friday. But I just wanted to show you because I really picking up the mountain thing. Like, I don't think she's that far. I think there's not this direction, not these mountains, because I don't see any houses, but I feel like there's houses in somewhere on a mountain range in one of these directions or over the range or around the range or something, like, because we reported on that when I did my reading on her. So I don't think she's that far.
Now, with the press conference earlier, we asked, have there been any ransom notes? And I thought it was interesting. Again, the sheriff didn't answer the question. He just said, we're looking into every. And yesterday he was much more open, actually. I mean, you had him on your podcast. He was all over the place. He was answering every question. He was kind of like hard to follow it sometimes. I'm like, he was talking about his gut feeling about things. And I'm like, is it really what he's saying actually factor? Anyway, but today he was much, much more careful.
Yeah. And obviously, like I said before, they're a little bit new at this. I mean, they don't get this kind of stuff going on in this rural area in Pima County. But, upsetting just to think that somebody, if it's true, may be trying to insert themselves. Let's get to some of the other breaking stuff that my source told me that's just kind of blood curdling, that they did indeed find blood inside the house. You found the blood outside the house. The confirmation from my law enforcement sources that there was blood inside the house as well. And that they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. Annie Guthrie being Savannah Guthrie's sister and the last person to have dropped Mrs. Guthrie off at 9:45 the night before, but that they have towed and impounded her car into evidence. That is sort of the ground shook when I learned that.
That's interesting because we had heard that the FBI was at the sister's house, the Savannah sister's house earlier tonight. I hadn't heard the towing of the car, and I just kind of assumed like they were over there talking to them, trying to get more information about, what was going on in Nancy's life in the days up to this. But yeah, the towing of the car, I'm trying to sort of wrap my mind around the reasons that they may have done that.
I mean, I guess I can understand. I'm trying to think of all the reasons why it's not a big deal. And it's the last person to have seen Nancy Guthrie. My law enforcement source says, who takes an 84-year-old woman with limited mobility? It's a burden for the kidnapper to do so unless someone has a vested interest in gaining something from it, like insurance benefits or a family debt that needs paid off, anything like that. This was just the musings, not the evidence of this investigator. But the other sort of earth-shattering information that this source told me is that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, Annie's husband, Thomas Ocioni, is now may be considered prime suspect in this case.
Wow. Yeah. So I haven't heard the most, like I said, the most I heard was that the FBI was at their house earlier today.
Wow.
I haven't heard that at all. I don't know much about them. I mean, I think they were the last ones with her, right? On Friday night.
Two
so
reports
I mean,
that Annie dropped her off, or that Annie and Tomaso dropped her off. It's a little unclear, but this law enforcement source specifically pointed to her car being towed, impounded, and in evidence. And the son-in-law, Tomaso Sioni, age 50, may be the prime suspect in the case.
Well, and it would make sense even if they hopefully did absolutely nothing wrong and this is their mom, and it's like makes your heart hurt. I mean, I feel terrible for everyone in the family, but it would make sense that they don't want to leave any stone unturned. So even if investigators are thinking like, we don't think these people had anything to do with it, but the fact that they were the last ones with her, she was in that car the night before, like maybe they're just going to check everything regardless.
And that, my source said there's a lot of familiarity. This kidnapper had a lot of familiarity with this home, with the 2 different Nest cams that were smashed. And that they said an 84-year-old woman with limited mobility is not an easy person to kidnap. There has to be a benefit in some way. You think about a break-in. No, you've caught me breaking into your house. Now you've seen me. Well, you don't typically kill someone and take the body or take the live person with you. That's not usually how a burglary that's foiled ends. It's far more complicated and odd. The mystery is more. It just takes you in a different direction. Your thoughts, anyway. The other thing is that my source said they are obviously looking at all cell phone pings and geofencing to find out what was in that neighborhood. This is the kind of thing that, trips up just about anybody. It may have tripped up Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders. He left his phone in the hospital, but the car was seen. Brian Koberger shuts his phone off right as he's leaving and puts his phone back on right as he's returning home, right around the times of the murders. These are things that some people just don't think about.
Yeah, and it's not just phones. I was talking to a FBI agent who just retired actually from this area earlier, and he was reminding me that it's iPads, it's like all sorts, it's iWatch, it's all sorts of electronics now. Yeah, that can track you. And he was emphasizing to me that is the number one thing that the FBI is doing right now, and that they can literally like narrow it down in such a way through the cell phone towers to who was right in this area, and then try to follow that device. And he thinks that's really what's going on behind the scenes right now. And there's also just like questions about, do they have a suspect that we just don't know about? I mean, I was thinking back to Brian Koberger earlier when you and I were talking every night, and it was like, gosh, these police, they don't seem like they know anything. And then come to find out they knew a lot. Do they just have their poker face on in these press conferences and they actually know a lot?
And it's true. They do. I mean, that has to be, we have to be kept in the dark about things because they got to keep the suspect in the dark about a lot of things, super interesting though, just about the fact that family members are always number one. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Ed Smart was like one of the number one, suspects in the disappearance of his daughter, Elizabeth. Does the boogeyman really come into your house and steal your daughter out of her bed beside her little sister? I doubt it. Well, he did. The boogeyman did come in. Brian David Mitchell did come in and steal Elizabeth, and it wasn't Ed Smart. But the way law enforcement works is you have to start from the inside of the concentric circles and then work out to any potential other suspects. So if this ends up being prime suspect, but not the only one, and we're just eliminating him, that could definitely be the case. But I also feel like, would you?
Well, we have confirmed, if you're just coming in now, that the police have confirmed that they did also get the ransom note. They haven't substantiated it yet. But I did say yesterday in our live, Stuart, you were here, that I feel like if there is a ransom, that note's going to come out today. And it did, because if they were waiting for her to be imminently ill and that Savannah would know that, I don't know. The police said 2 days ago, in about 24 hours from now, which would have been 24 hours after that urgent time frame when the ransom note came out. It would have been sort of a day after it should have. So I'm not sure if it's the sister, but they I do have articles we're going to read here after this is done in 8 minutes. This video will show another video too, but I want to read a couple of articles, or one at least, that shows police are denying son-in-law as a suspect. Well, again, they may be saying that, because they don't want to blow the case, right? But we don't really, so this is the reporting. And it could be that the police are pissed off that this is coming out now. But I've got 3 articles up, just 3 that I just pulled in 3 seconds, that confirm this reporting. So let's just keep listening. And the police are not here to keep the truth out there. They're here to preserve the facts of the case. And I heard somebody in some of my research saying, as a retired homicide detective, and you, Stuart, you might be able to confirm this. If they say too much publicly and then that it proves to be incorrect, that the defense could be used against them for that public statement. So they're very tight-lipped about what they say because they cannot afford to jeopardize a case. Period. It's full stop.
Tow and impound the car of Savannah Guthrie's sister, of Nancy Guthrie's daughter. And if there weren't something bigger to it, I mean, it's very loud. It's a very big move.
Do you think it's strange? And you're more, I mean, you've been in the bigger media world more than I have. Like, do you think it's strange that Savannah Guthrie hasn't said anything? I mean, could that be an indication of maybe some drama in the family behind the scenes?
You know, so many things could be happening there. If I were in Savannah's shoes, I would be mute. I would be, you know, catatonic. You're a big media person. This massive thing is swirling around you. You don't even know what to say and what not to say. You have a million friends in the media business. Everybody wants a comment from you. And the police may have just said, we'd like you not to say anything. And I know Savannah. Savannah is a lawyer. She is a long-studied crime reporter. I met her at Court TV. We worked together at Court TV. She is brilliant. And so Savannah will be doing the smartest things to aid in this investigation. She will do everything that the police are asking her to do, and she will not go rogue. I know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the other aspect of that is that if the FBI was over at Annie's house, they've towed her car, they're looking at her husband. If I were Savannah, yeah, that would be enough for me to just say, I need to just stay out of the limelight. I need to stay out of everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just wondering about that because if there is a family dynamic here, it might be a reason for her to, like you said, just sort of stay quiet. Although I hate to even think that. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I know you have your source, but it's like, you know, gosh, that's just terrible.
I was interviewing Ed Smart and Lois and having to ask them about that. It was awful and so awkward and so uncomfortable. But I do understand it's how law enforcement has to work. They can't ignore that or they wouldn't be doing their jobs. What about the neighbors? Have you heard from anybody out there?
Yeah, we've talked to several neighbors. You know, people loved Nancy. We're hearing a lot of that. I mean, she actually lived here since the early 90s. I think 1992 is when she moved in, which a lot of people were saying, oh, Savannah probably bought her the house. It's a really nice house. I mean, apparently not, because she's lived here for a long time. So a lot of people know her. And people are on edge about the whole thing. You know, the police have been to all of the neighbors' houses. There was one neighbor who told me police had been there twice looking for videos. So it seems like, you know, we've done other stories where you show up and you're like kind of surprised, gosh, how are we the first ones here? That doesn't seem like the case here. People have been going to all the different neighbors' houses. There was one neighbor who told me that they were even trying to talk to the landscapers because there's a lot, I mean, they're really nice houses out here and there's a lot of like landscape crews and stuff. So they were talking to them because they kind of know the area. So yeah, people have been cooperating with the police for sure.
Well, I remember a case, Nancy Woodrum in Paso Robles, California, well over a decade ago. Elderly woman disappeared from her home. It was this sort of freaked me out a little because it seemed so similar, but it ended up being a painter that worked at the house. So they will be canvassing. And I think the sheriff did say that to me. They're canvassing every single person from caretakers to landscapers to pool, service contractors, etc. Anybody who had any kind of connection at that house, that would be absolutely number one. They would do that right away and get alibis and check for DNA. The other interesting thing is, Brian, that the sheriff today said that they have tested some of the DNA that was discovered at the house, but that nothing that's come back so far has indicated a suspect.
Right. They confirmed that the DNA connected back to Nancy, which I guess is no real surprise. She lived in the house, but they wouldn't say what. Was that blood that was tested? Was that the blood outside that was tested? I do too. I do too, but they didn't confirm it.
I mean, you're seeing blood outside that's it's still red. I could see your video still red. You're testing that. You're testing that right away, because what if there was a pitched fight and a knife was being used and, you know, the assailant was cut? There'd be mixed blood. So that would be the first thing but it was devastating to hear that so far nothing's come back, indicating a suspect. This is going to be a hard one. This will be a really, really hard one. Like you said, it's so dark out there and so rural, and it's not like a lot of ring cameras and license plate readers are going to lead to whatever vehicle, and I do say vehicle. Nancy Guthrie couldn't move more than 50 yards on her own. She needed to be conveyed in some kind of a vehicle.
I wonder if they already have a vehicle description. Because, you know, with the FBI being involved so early, and there are traffic cameras out like on the main road out here, and they're just not giving it to us at this point for a specific reason.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they're going to look at every single vehicle that was in that area and find out who they were, where they were, who they were with. You know, that's not tricky. That's what led us to Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders, you know?
Yeah.
What am I missing?
I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, we hit the ransom. You know, the blood is really alarming. The cameras, which you had new information on. You know, I don't know if you caught the press conference, Ashley. It was
I did.
It was a little strange. I mean, there was not a lot of new information. The FBI was there for the first time. They had the special agent in charge of Tucson who was there along with the sheriff. The FBI was not there yesterday. I thought it was, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. The sheriff started by saying, well, I said.
No, I'm not leaning that way. We did cover that, and I'm going to show you that in a minute, you Gutterbug rather. But no, I think that this is more personal than that, but I could be wrong. I don't know. The police have not substantiated that either. Now, if that is correct, and there was another burglary in that neighborhood, which I'll show you in 3 minutes here, those pictures, then the police chief sheriff might be in serious trouble. If that was the case, and not serious trouble, but why that hasn't been mentioned, and was there a danger to the neighborhood? In other words, was there somebody out there trying to break in? But we don't know if that's true or not. So I'll show you that in a second. You guys can vote. But I'm not sure if the virility of that information.
Some things maybe I shouldn't have said yesterday, and I had to do all these interviews. It was just kind of strange. I thought, like you said, I guess they don't deal with that a lot here. And then I thought it was interesting that he said, next press conference will be Thursday.
That's right.
Yeah.
No updates unless needed.
Correct. And I was just like, okay, kind of like nothing to see here, everybody. It's just a little odd, I thought.
You know what? I thought it was strange when he said no updates until Thursday, until something happens. And then when I got my information from my law enforcement source, I thought, oh, yeah, maybe it's because you do have your prime suspect. And that's why you're saying we don't need to do any updates right now. I don't know. Again, it's a great, impeccable source that I have.
Well, that's what we saw with Tepe, right? That's exactly what happened with Tepe. We were all like, holy shit, what is going on? First thing cardiologists asked, heart disease person, how far could they walk? Yeah. And the family has said she couldn't go more than 50 feet on her own. And that's what I said yesterday. Whoever took her carried her, because 150 pounds, if she was dead, deceased, or out of it, or struggling to get away, like you don't just go willingly, you're probably trying to fight back, would be hard to carry somebody out the door, one person. And so that's why I was leaning in on two people. But I also feel like, and I said yesterday, my spidey sense says, if it's that somebody didn't want her to die, that they probably packed a few medication pills just to preserve her. And if it is the sister and the husband, I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out later, because they waited awfully long to call in the ransom, if the ransom is legitimate and connected to the case. But let's finish this, and then I'm going to show you those screenshots I posted yesterday on our page here.
Extraordinarily connected to this. So, and somebody who's very high in law enforcement too. So I don't have any reason not to believe that. Oh, I do want to mention that there was dispatch chatter, which was super interesting. Dispatch audio that was like dispatch talking to responding units.
Nancy, a white female, 84 years of age, 5'2" medium build, private blue. Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
Saying that there was high blood pressure medication, a pacemaker, and cardiac issues. So they seemed to know right away, even before they got there, that there was some medical issue with this missing person. Maybe that came from the family. Yeah. Really.
Well, and you've heard right about the
thank you,
the pacemaker
honey.
connecting to the iWatch, and she was charging her iWatch in the room, and they were able to review the data in the iWatch. And the last time the pacemaker connected to the iWatch was at 2 a.m. So that's sort of how they've been able to. I just want to look again and see what. Yeah, it's interesting. This must be security out here.
And taking pictures just to say what things look like out there. My source said to me that the separation from the pacemaker at 2 a.m. is the time of abduction. That's what police believe. They refused to narrow the window for us in the press conference today, but my law enforcement source said, yes, it's 2 a.m. That's when they believe she was abducted / kidnapped. The sheriff said kidnapped to me. I don't think there's a big difference. And that they believe that it absolutely happened at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, which would make sense. And again, it just as dark as it is out here. I'll just show you, like if I pick up my camera, my phone, or my, I mean, we have all our lights, but look like down the street, Ashley, it's like,
whoa,
you can see what it's like out here. It's like totally pitch black. So
only thing you can see are the vehicles. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And the lights.
Makes it real hard for an investigation, Brian. My God. Well, listen, you were unbelievable today in what you were able to I mean, I think the blood trail is some of the biggest news that's come out of this, as well as the notion that
the ring cameras were
Annie and
taken.
Tomso's vehicle is being, has been impounded, is in evidence, and that they may be considering him a prime suspect. It's very disturbing. It's very distressing. But listen.
Well, and the fact that they ripped off the cameras is wildly, like, that is disturbing. Okay, just for anybody that's in doubt, do you think he killed the Wi-Fi before removing the cams? I have no idea, honey. But they can still access the information from those cams, right? They can still access the information. So we've got here exclusive FBI agents arrive at Savannah Guthrie's home. This was published yesterday at 5:40 p.m. Eastern, just after our second live. Stony-faced FBI agents and other law enforcement were seen arriving at the home of Savannah Guthrie's sister on Tuesday afternoon as the search for her mother, Nancy, continues into its third day. Exclusive Daily Mail photos. Let me just make myself smaller so you can maybe even see a little bit more here. Exclusive Daily Mail photos show the moment agents descended on the $650,000 Arizona property where Guthrie herself is also staying just after 2:30 p.m. local time. Savannah's older sister, Annie, 56, was the last person to see Nancy. See, this is also new information, at least confirmed. 84 before she vanished on Saturday night. The pair had spent the evening enjoying a dinner together. We heard family dinner, but they didn't specify who. But it made it narrowing it down because I think, Donna, you said that the son lives out east, and we know Savannah lives elsewhere. So the pair had spent the evening enjoying dinner together and playing mahjong, a Chinese 4-player rummy-style game. Nancy had not been seen since 9:30 p.m. on January 31st, when the alarm raised by Annie after her mother failed to show up at church. Earlier today, cops twice refused to rule out kidnap for ransom and said that they were following up multiple leads, including an alleged ransom note emailed to TMZ. And again, we've just confirmed that they have validated this ransom note, the note to be legitimate. Whether the ransom and the people behind the note are legitimate is an entirely different question. But there is a ransom note at play. Whether it's a true ransom and she's alive and the people have her that sent the note has not been validated, and they're not coming forward to say so. The police also are helping to investigate the case, with John Edwards of the Bureau's Tucson office telling a press conference they're offering analytical and tech support, among them downloads of cell phone information and analysis of pings picked up by local towers. Meanwhile, Nancy's home, the same property in which Guthrie grew up. Oh, I didn't know that. So she's lived there a long time. Savannah Guthrie grew up here. Was surrounded by media on Tuesday afternoon. Exclusive Daily Mail photos show the moments the agents descended on the $650,000 property where Guthrie herself is also staying, just after 3:30 p.m. local time. The person who greeted them is part of Savannah's security team who have been guarding the home. Let's look at a few more photos here. So sad. God, life, do you ever look at those things and go, you look at a time frame and go, wow, like if I'd known what life was going to serve up in this moment down the road in a year, 2 years, 3 years, wow. How would you look at your life differently, So there's the property, again, an aerial view. A big property for an 84-year-old woman. I'm guessing this is a guest house back here. A pool, like this is a big property. This is a guest house here, potentially. The garage is here, and this is a porch. So yes, it's a big home, but it's not massive when you look at it, because this is porch. If you can see if you can see, this is porch here. This is probably an outbuilding, and this big here is garage. So the house is this front and this area here. So is it big? Yeah, it's big, but it's not like massive. Brother is in VT, I believe. Also, Stewart, a retired detective, says she would have been on blood thinners if she had a pacemaker. Just a little scratch can produce a lot of blood. Yes, that's true, Stewart. You're right. That's absolutely true. Thank you for that, because that is true. So it could be looking like more blood than because of an innocent scratch. My dad used to have that problem, and he would itch. And when you're elder and your skin gets thin and you're on blood thinners, yeah, you're right. Like it's just a little scratch and it would pop up and bruise in my dad's case. So yeah, very, very important information. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, let's just keep looking here. So investigators are seen arriving Tuesday holding notebooks. You know, I'm just going to tell you, there's a lot of detectives that they could bring into the FBI case. This guy here with the beard, I feel like this is a deliberate person that the husband might, do you know what I'm saying? Energetically, I feel like he looks like somebody that the husband might identify with. And I know that sounds very like I'm racially profiling, but if you don't think the FBI work this way, and Stuart, you can feel free to comment, then you're sadly mistaken. I think that when they are going to go and investigate, they want people to feel comfortable and open up as much as possible. And if they have to bring an investigator in that they think the suspect will be more comfortable around, I'm just getting this energetically. This guy with the beard is deliberately in there for that reason. That could be completely random. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm getting. This guy right here. Yeah. Okay, let's keep reading the article. I think it might be the end of the article. Let's just go. Nope. FBI agents in a suit and tie and in more relaxed attire. See? One in a suit and tie. You got the good guy, bad guy, cop scenario. Okay, one in a suit and tie and one more relaxed. I mean, we've seen this before. Walked up to the home and greeted by members of Savannah's security team who had been guarding the property. The officers were seen holding files and notebooks as they arrived to the property. Police say they had turned the sprawling property back over to the family on Monday, despite what appeared to be a small quantity of blood still visible on the front doorstep. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nano said on Tuesday that they believe that the octogenarian has been abducted. Octogenarian has been abducted, and said investigators are in a race against time because she was taken without essential medication. TMZ, or Tucson TV rather, station Cold said on Tuesday afternoon that they had also received a ransom note. It's unclear if the notes from TMZ and Cold are the same. We played those. We played the demands. We showed a screenshot of the demands. So if you missed that, go back and rewind. TMZ reported that the note, which said it could not verify as being sent by the abductors, demanded millions in Bitcoin for the release of the 84-year-old. The outlet said that the note demanded Bitcoin to be sent to a specific cryptocurrency address, which has been verified as real Bitcoin address. The note concluded with a deadline for the ransom to be paid, or else. TMZ said it included details unknown to the public, including damage caused to Nancy's home and what she was wearing at the time of her abduction. Now, that's a little bit up for debate, because what we just read from another news source saying that they actually confirmed something that was damaged in the home. And so that's also what makes, if that is true, it makes me believe that this is authentic, because why send something to the police that they will know is not factual? It would immediately delegitimize rather the ransom note. So if this is true, and that they did verify what was broken in the home, which is what we reported on again earlier, and you could just go back and you can see the statement. If that's true, then, you know, I think the police are quick to validate it. If you know, otherwise, why would they put something in there that can dispute their legitimacy of claims? So I'm at this point, I'm leaning towards it being a real ransom note. Yesterday, when I saw the FBI involved in the investigation, I assumed that it was to expect the lab's DNA testing, since there was no mention at the time of a ransom note. Yeah. Yeah. I think the FBI came in pretty early on. Thank you, Marie. Thank you. Okay, let's go. There's another, I just want you to know, this is a little bit going into who her sister is. Nancy Guthrie has also stated, or Susanna Guthrie rather, has stated that her and her sister are diabolically opposite. They sure look very different in their energy. Look at this. This is Nancy, mom on the left. We've got Savannah in the middle, and we've got the sister, Annie, whose boyfriend or husband is and herself are being questioned. Apparently, her car has been taken. Who is Annie Guthrie? FBI revisits Savannah Guthrie's sister's house as a desperate search for missing mom continues. FBI agents were seen at Annie Guthrie's home in Arizona as the search continues for her missing mother, Nancy, 84. The search for Nancy, 84, continues as FBI agents visited her daughter's home in Arizona. Nancy Guthrie missing. FBI agents were seen on Tuesday at the residence of Annie, the sister of Savannah Guthrie, in Arizona, as the search for her mother continues. I mean, again, Savannah has said her and her sister are diabolically opposite in personality, and just they don't even look like they're siblings. She looks like a ball breaker, like a hellraiser, and Savannah's got this innocent little princess energy. I don't know. I'm just picking up energetically, just totally different. Law enforcement officials, including FBI agents and sheriffs, were seen departing from Annie's home following a 2-hour meeting on Tuesday afternoon, during which Savannah is also believed to have been present as part of page 6. Wow. So Savannah is aware that they are questioning that sister and husband. I mean, that's got to be an uncomfortable house to be in right now. Wow. Can you imagine? Poor Savannah. Wow. I mean, I can, because I've been through it, not to the same extent. My dad wasn't missing. He just almost died. And to learn that it was my mother and my sister was devastating. Absolutely devastating, or life altering and shattering. It dismantled their entire family. I no longer have any contact with my mom's side of the family. My sister, those were the family that we were, my dad was somewhat estranged from his family. That was the family I grew up with. So extremely traumatic, but it happens. And sadly, elders are a big target in Canada and worldwide. For this might be a little bit different, this case, but it's very sad. So they had a 2-hour meeting on Tuesday in which Savannah also was present. Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Ann, has been unaccounted for since Sunday. Annie was the last person to have seen Nancy after returning her to her home after dinner Saturday night. Authorities suspect that Nancy may have been abducted from her residence in Tucson. When questioned if there were any demands made by kidnappers, the sheriff said, "We have all the kinds of investigative leads we are working on. All kinds of investigative leads we're working on." Journalist Ashley Banfield makes startling claim against Annie Guthrie's husband. Meanwhile, in the episode of Draw Dead Serious, journalist Ashley Banfield presented a startling assertion, reinforcing a law enforcement source linked to the current investigation that Savannah's brother-in-law is under consideration as a primary suspect in the case. However, no official statement has been provided in this regard. HT.com cannot independently verify the authenticity of Banfield's claims. Annie and her spouse, Tommaso Cioni, live in a $1 million residence. So we've got 650, 1 million discrepancies in Tucson's affluent Catalina Foothills neighborhood near Nancy, according to the Daily Mail. Annie is one of Nancy's 3 children. Savannah is the youngest among all. Nancy's son, Charles Cameron Guthrie, is a retired pilot. Who is Nancy? Annie Guthrie is a writer and a jeweler from Tucson. She's the marketing director at the University of Arizona Poetry Center, where she recently curated a national symposium, Poetry Off the Page, featuring poets who work in hybrid multimedia forms and other art forms such as film, theater, books, arts, and dance, as per the Woman's Quarterly Conversation. Describing her equation with Nancy, Anne once referred to Nancy as our bright North Star, reported the Daily Mail. Annie has also spoken about the family's strong bond on the Today Show. She commented Nancy for her support following the tragic passing of her father due to a heart attack. Annie once referred to Nancy, her mother, as our bright North Star. My sister and I are like the sun and the moon. So polar opposites. Her sorrows are my sorrows. Her successes are my successes, she added. Well, do you take that? So she's making the equation. I read that incorrectly. My apologies. When she says my sister and I are the sun and the moon, I take that maybe because of astrology as polar opposite energy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she thinks that they're the same. TMZ is going live. Okay. I'd get a hotel. No kidding. Who wants to stay in the home after all this, right? Okay, so they're going live. Let's see. For the real sister and her husband's boyfriend are suspects, in my opinion. They really sad and devastating. It is sad and devastating. If the authorities could confirm whereabouts of Nancy or her husband during the known timeline of her abduction, they can be ruled out directly or be involved. Well, I'm sure they're doing that, honey. I mean, the FBI is involved. They know what they're doing. I'm sure they are asking for proof of life. Like, we got to give them some credit here. They got to know what they're doing, right? Here, let's listen to this. Let's listen to this. I'm not sure if it's the article is also talking about her as a suspect, but I don't know if the video.
The FBI is working along. First, we want the community to know that the FBI is doing everything in our power to bring Nancy Guthrie home to her family. The FBI is working alongside the Pima County Sheriff's Department on this incident. In terms of what the FBI is doing, we are providing the following support. Primarily, it's analytical and technical support in the following ways. We're downloading and analyzing cell phones, obtaining cell tower information, conducting interviews, and providing any and all investigative support that the Sheriff's Department needs. We are looking at this from every angle, but we need your help. If you live in the area or saw something on Saturday night, the 31st of January, or Sunday morning, the 1st of February, please report it to the Pima County Sheriff's Department or the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Every lead and tip is important. We are aggressively pursuing and looking into every single one. Again, please help us bring Nancy Guthrie home.
Okay, let's see. I don't think they're live talking about that, Donna. We'll play it for a second. Let me play it for a second, but I really don't think that this is about the Savannah Guthrie. We'll see. Yeah, no, they're not talking. They're live, but they're not talking about Savannah Guthrie here, honey. Okay, let's go back to another video I had planned, and we will continue to monitor this case. It's a crazy one. Let's watch Brian Enton here.
Appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. I am in Tucson, Arizona. This right here behind me, this is Nancy Guthrie's house. Of course, she is the mother, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie, the Today Show host. She is still missing, but we're learning some new information about what may have happened here. And I'm going to get into a ton of the new nuggets that we've uncovered out here in this episode. I mean, there's blood up on the front doorstep, which we've now seen. The Ring camera on the front door is missing, which I asked the sheriff about. And then there are these ransom notes that are now popping up, which have become part of the story, which the sheriff is also commenting on. I was just over at the sheriff's office. So I'm going to give you the latest from the sheriff's office. I'm going to give you the latest on what the neighbors are saying out here. And I've talked to several of them. What we've seen at the house, which is no longer.
I forgot to show you the pictures. Hang on. Let me just pause this. I forgot to show you the pictures. This is the pictures of the sister and the boyfriend driving away from the scene after the police were questioning them Tuesday night. Hang on a second. And I want to just show you. So there's just these two that are new. Annie's face covered her face with her hood. So they're trying to conceal themselves. Interesting. Look at that. Well, that's suspicious. I mean, they're not just They're not just, you know, I mean, if they had nothing to hide and they were there talking to the family, those are odd behaviors. What do you think? Anybody comment? She looks kind of harsh in this photo. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be, she just looks very different in energy from Savannah. She looks like a mean, badass woman here. And I don't like this look. I don't like this look. Okay, so let's go back. I just want to share. It doesn't take long to find their whereabouts. Put findings on what is possible ruling ahead. I know. I know. Why are you hiding your face? I know. You see? Does that seem weird to you too? Stuart, what do you think about that? Like, if they're innocent and the police are just going to talk to the family, which would be normal, why are you hiding your face? Oh, it makes me feel not good. Okay, I want to just also show you what I posted on our page here. On my page, just so you see, because somebody was referencing it earlier in the chat. Oh God. Okay, so News Nation is coming out saying there is no suspect. No suspect. I'll post that in a second. So the police are hammering down. They don't want to confirm or deny. Hang on, I'm trying to get you the right post. God almighty. Like, they just need to make this a better system. Like, it's so freaking clunky. Every YouTuber has the same issue. It's so effing clunky. Okay. Did I not post it? Where the heck? There we are. Okay, let's see if you can see. So you were asking earlier about this, about whether this is legitimate. I wish I could zoom in, but here we have somebody that posted in a comment, and they do not want him to get away. Yeah, they're trying to hide. I know. Ooh, Gutterbug, you were. I'm just going to call you Gutterbug if that's okay. You were asking about whether or not I believe this to be true, and I'm leaning against it now. But I haven't had time to sit with the energy, to be honest with you. But I'm really focused on the sister now. And that in my first reading, I said that, which is interesting. And then I felt the male energy yesterday. So I'm really zoned in on the sister and the brother-in-law now at this point. But somebody had posted, my 90-year-old dad lives in the same area. 8 nights ago at about 10 p.m., the back porch motion light went on. There was this Hispanic man snooping around, and he tried to get into the sliding glass door. My dad yelled, swore at him to get away, and the man ran off. The sheriff came and secured the house and told my dad to get a gun, so he did. I think there might have been another man with this man, and they were looking for an easy way in. The scary thing is the lights and TV were on. The man knew that there was someone in the house. I think my dad was targeted because of his age. My dad wears an emergency button 100% of the time, praying they find her. Do y'all think there's any truth to that? Tell me whether you think guilt has various forms. I had a guy pee himself when I walked up to him to arrest him. Fun times in court later with that fact. No kidding. Yeah, no kidding. I can only imagine. Are you willing to state whether you think the fact that they're covering their faces when they're driving away after the FBI showed up, does that show guilt? Because if I'm innocent and my dad's gone missing, I'm not hiding my face. Like, everybody already knows what's going on. The world is watching. This is a very public case. If I'm innocent and my dad is missing, and they come up to ask me questions as a family member. Why would I be hiding my face? It just seems odd to me. Stuart, I don't know if you're willing to comment on that as a retired detective, but I just think that seems just odd to me. Okay, the other thing we posted was a presser update that the sheriff is being very tight-lipped. I think this is Jennifer Koffendorfer posted this, retired FBI agent. He provided no details, but emphasized that Nancy was taken. Yesterday's sheriff intimated no ransom, but today did not say that. Her ring camera was missing, but there's a reasonable explanation. Was it missing before the crime investigations arrived or later? So again, we note that Brian Enton has since reported that the ring cameras were ripped off the door. And I think he said plural. Also, DNA lab issues sent in Tucson sent DNA to Phoenix. No tire tracks. No, because there's pebbles. No car images or people images to release to the public. Some video companies. This has to change. This really effing ticks me off. The police has said it. They have said it. The sheriff has said it. I don't like that they are having to wait because of privacy concerns to get information. That law needs to change. I'm sorry. Do I want my privacy invaded? No. But if someone's life is on the line and I'm innocent, have fucking at it, man. I'm sorry. Like, why should we have to wait when the police are investigating? An 84-year-old's life is on the line. Why should they have to wait? Bullshit. I think that law needs to change. I'm sorry. I think that's baloney. That has got to be so incredibly frustrating for law enforcement to get information they need. And this woman's life is hanging in the balance. And they've got to go through protocols. And he's already said it. They are to get access to information. It's just baloney. It's just baloney. So we posted this too. But again, I said, daughters, international friends, because again, yesterday, I did not want to accuse anybody. We're talking about a high profile case here in the family. It smells of premeditation. It just should be able to, it just is crazy. I don't know, man. Something's off here. Okay, let's get back into the last video. I'm looking for TMZ, Donna. I don't see TMZ covering it. And instead of putting it in the chat, maybe send it as a private chat to me. I don't think they're guilty. It would be hiding my face because I wouldn't want my picture on every channel. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, could be. You could be right. I think they're guilty myself, but we don't really know. Okay, let's continue to watch this.
Your crime scene. And then I'm also going to talk to retired FBI agent Maureen O'Connell about a lot of this stuff. So all of it's coming up. It's going to be a really comprehensive episode on the ground here in Arizona. In this episode of Brian Enton. All right, hey guys, I'm sitting in the shade here.
Oh, sorry, honey.
Sunny here. In
sorry,
Tucson,
honey.
Again, that's Nancy Guthrie's house.
I misunderstood you.
Media out here that have pretty much just like camped out all up and down the street. First of all, before I start giving you the latest information, I just want to say that my heart goes out to Nancy Guthrie's family and Savannah Guthrie, and it's just it's heart-wrenching. And I think anybody, with a mom can relate to how they would feel in this situation and just how terrible it is. And I can't imagine what they're going through right now. So I really hope there's a positive resolution to all of this. But in terms of the latest on the case, I was just over at the sheriff's office. We got a briefing from the sheriff. He was much more tight-lipped today than he was yesterday. Yesterday he did like dozens of interviews and talked to all of us and all of the networks and seemed to give little different bits of information to different reporters. And today he just said that, he was not going to be giving as much information and almost made like a comment like, I apologize if I said some things I shouldn't have yesterday. I mean, I think he was just talking off the cuff a lot yesterday. He talked a couple times about what his gut was telling him. And I think some of what he said was reported as fact and they don't necessarily have it all backed up. That's kind of the sense that I got. But he has said that this was a kidnapping or abduction and that Nancy Guthrie was taken in the...
Yeah, we saw that yesterday. Maureen was saying, when it's a public case like this, that managers get involved. And I got that sense too, that the police sheriff was told to button up. And so he came out and said, like, we're not doing it this way anymore because he's not versed in a high profile case. He said it by his own admission and he probably let things squeak out that he shouldn't have. And I really think he was told to zip it up, you know. Let's watch.
Middle of the night from her home here.
Whoops.
But did not go much farther than that today. I want to show you guys this drone video that we got out here because this really shows you what this area is like. And before I got here, when I first started reading about the story, it almost made it sound like almost like a suburban neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
It's not really. I mean, it's much, much more rural.
Well, that's
out here.
good to
We're in
hear.
the foothills of the mountains, and the homes are pretty far apart. I would say each house is on at least an acre. Some seem like they're on a.
That is very good to hear. Stuart, hang on. I don't know what is going on with my camera. That is good to hear. I'm glad to hear that you don't find it as frustrating, because to me, as an outsider looking in, I would have thought that it would be frustrating, but I'm glad to hear it's not. So is it just the lighting or is it me? But does Brian have a black eye? I don't know, honey. That's he's tired, maybe. He does a lot of traveling, man. Guy works non-stop. Okay, let's keep
couple
watching.
of acres out here. There's just cactus and just open land in between a lot of the houses. And there's not a lot of, there's no street lights, by the way. I mean, it's pitch black out here. So, you know, if she was taken in the middle of the night, it would have been totally dark. There are not a lot of cameras, although we have been looking around and there are some houses that have Ring cameras facing out towards the street. But one thing that I've noticed is that the houses are set back a ways on the bigger pieces of property. So even if they have cameras, they're not necessarily right out on the street. Although we have seen a couple out near the street, and there are also traffic cameras out at some of the main intersections outside this subdivision. I don't know if those traffic cameras record. We don't know exactly what police know right now. And they, based on the press conference, they know very, very little, and they need the public's help. But as we've seen in cases before, even with Brian Koberger in the beginning, so many of us thought the police knew very little because they weren't saying anything, or they were telling us they didn't know anything, but they actually knew a lot behind the scenes. And that could be the case here. I mean, why are they not giving any specific information about a vehicle that they're looking for? Is it because they don't know what the vehicle is, or is it because they know and they don't want the perpetrator, to know that they know the vehicle type? So I don't know the answer to whether they know a ton more, but based on the press conference and what the sheriff was saying, they know very, very little right now, and they need help from the public. In terms of ransom, have they gotten any requests for ransom from a kidnapper? We asked that question specifically at the press conference, and the sheriff kind of just dodged it. He didn't say yes or no. He said, said something like, we're looking into every lead out there. So he didn't say yes or no, but what's interesting is
he does look like he has a black eye. He does look like he has a black eye, but I think it might be the shadow, Hope. But yeah, I think he's tired, but yeah, because knowing Brian, he would say, hey, I got a black eye, don't worry about it, I didn't get in a fight or anything, this is what happened. But you know, because he's so transparent, I'm guessing he would tell us if he had a black eye. But looks like just the way the shadow is and the fact that he's tired.
They received a ransom letter into their email and said that it had specific information in it, a specific dollar amount, and also had specific information in terms of describing what Nancy Guthrie was wearing, and also specific information from inside the house. Whether any of that's true, we don't know. I mean, it could just be totally bogus. Who knows? It could be people just, you know, sending info in, faking, you know what I mean, making it up, like just to try to get money, just jerks out there. There's also a local TV affiliate here in Tucson that says that they've received a ransom note, and the sheriff's office actually responded. Let me read this to you. And said they responded to some of these reports about ransom notes and said, we are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We are taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives who are coordinating with the FBI, and they're encouraging anyone with information to continue to reach out. In terms of the FBI is very much now involved, and that's a new element. We knew that they were assisting yesterday. They are very much assisting today, because when we were at the press conference earlier, there was the FBI special agent in charge of this Tucson area who was actually at the press conference. That could also explain why police aren't, or why the sheriff isn't saying as much. Usually I find that when the FBI gets involved, they really seem to clamp down on just other members of law enforcement speaking out about the investigation. So there's definitely a sense today that there's not as much information coming out. And the sheriff even said at the end of the press conference that they're not going to have another press conference until Thursday unless there's an update, which I thought was kind of interesting because it's only Tuesday. Also new, one of my photographers was able to walk up to the house behind me. And keep in mind, this is no longer a crime scene. I mean, the sheriff made clear that it is no longer a crime scene, that they released it yesterday, and there hasn't really been anyone out here. There was a woman who came earlier today. I don't know if it was a family member, but anyway, several different people, including one of my photographers, went up to knock on the door just to see if anyone was home, because obviously that's like what we do, and it's no longer a crime scene. And you could see up at the door, this video, you could see that there was blood down near the doormat and just on the ground near the entryway into the house, which is pretty disturbing. There had been reports that there was blood found at the house, and it's pretty clear that this is blood right outside the front door. where the blood came from. What this means, we don't know. Also, the Ring camera is missing from next to the front door. It's a Ring camera, but the Ring camera is now gone. And I asked the sheriff about that at the press conference. I said, there's a missing Ring camera, and he confirmed that and said it is something that we're looking into. So did the perpetrator take the Ring camera, or was the Ring camera removed before all of this and has nothing to do with what happened? That's a possibility. But the sheriff said that they are aware that the Ring camera is missing and they are looking into it, which is another interesting element to this whole thing. Beyond that, there was not a ton of new information that came out of the sheriff today. Basically just continuing to ask the public for help, ask the neighbors. I want to play for you, actually. There's one neighbor that we spoke to, and she had a good point of how the police should be talking to landscapers in the area because they know the area really, really well.
So put out on the news, anybody who was a landscaper or does yard work, they're familiar with the desert and they go into people's homes all the time. And I told my guy today, I said, you guys see things that are unusual, like clothes or anything. You need to, he didn't even know about it, but he spoke English very well. So I think there should be some kind of it's a little late.
So neighbors are obviously on edge about everything that's going on. Again, several of the neighbors have told us that police have came to their house not just once, but 2 or 3 times asking for video, asking for information. So they're definitely canvassing this entire area and trying to get any info that they can. But keep in mind also, by the way, we're just like 60 miles or so from Mexico. So that's kind of another interesting element to this. And we know that CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, was assisting with the search yesterday because they have really, really highly skilled search dogs that can follow scents. So they were out here yesterday helping. The sheriff says that they're no longer assisting now, just that there's not an active search, which is kind of interesting. When we asked, well, why isn't there a search? The sheriff said, well, this is less about a search at this point, and it is more about investigating a crime. So they seem pretty much 100% sure that a crime occurred. In terms of Savannah Guthrie, she is still in Tucson. She's here. The sheriff confirmed that. NBC has confirmed that she's not going to be going to the Olympics to participate and co-host in the opening ceremonies, which is, pretty obvious that she wouldn't want to leave when her mom is missing and all of this is going on. But again, my heart just goes out to her.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
It's just a terrible situation out here. I'm joined now by Maureen O'Connell, who, if you follow my show.
But Stuart, they need to be, and I respect that, and I'm glad they are because they cannot jeopardize the case, And that's where true crime comes in. This is where true crime thrives because curiosity kills the cat. And as true crimers, like to dive into conspiracy theories or what ifs because it keeps our mind going. It doesn't necessarily make it right, which is why we're very careful to say allegedly. But Nancy Guthrie's professional life was defined by her transition from a stay-at-home mother to a career in higher education and public relations following the sudden death of her husband in the late 80s. After being widowed, Nancy took in a job in public relations at the University of Arizona. Oh, so Annie also worked at the University of Arizona. Isn't that interesting? I wonder if she helped Annie get a job there. She could specifically sought her role for children could attend the university tuition-free. Savannah Guthrie lived at home during college to stay close to her mom while she was utilizing this benefit. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you, Donna. I wonder when Amazon's package was left there. Carb team. Random. Do you think the brother-in-law and his sister will show up to the candlelight vigil tonight? I thought it was last night. Maybe it's tonight. I don't think so. I think if they're hiding their face in the car, they don't want to be seen. Just my thoughts. Okay, we're going to watch this and we're going to wrap it after this. There's 24 minutes left.
Everybody knows Maureen and loves Maureen, retired FBI agent, and Jeff Bennett, one of Maureen's colleagues, who is new to the show. Thank you for coming on, Jeff. Who is also a newly retired FBI agent. I want to start with you, Maureen. This video that we got of the blood spatter outside the front door. What do you make of that?
Well, a couple of things jump out to me. The first being that there aren't any bloody footprints. And if she had been bleeding like that through the house, we would have seen bloody footprints or perhaps a void where there's blood around the foot, but not under where her feet would have been. It leads me to think that there is a chance that she may have been carried out. Also, the blood droplets are generally round in shape, which means that they came from directly above, as opposed to being cast off. They don't appear to have anything to do with high velocity impact or anything like that. So it makes me very sad to see that.
Are you surprised that it's still there? Because the crime scene is over. It's all opened back up. We just went to knock on the door and saw the blood there.
No.
Is that the usual?
No, I was.
Thank you, Stuart. I appreciate that. It's very hard to figure out sometimes how to cover stories in true crime, because you want to cover what everybody wants to hear, but at the same time, we have an ethical responsibility, and particularly me as an intuitive, I have to be careful, you know? So thank you. But yeah, I appreciate that comment a lot. Thank you, especially since you're retired detective. Thank you.
Was at a shooting one.
And I'm going to extend the invitation. If you ever want to come up as a guest and you want to be off camera and talk about things and cases, you're more than welcome to. Anytime, you can free feel to email me. I'll put that in the chat in a second here. Let's watch this. Hang on.
Time where when the Bureau got done with it, there was such a large amount of blood that we just power washed it off, but only because the shooting happened to occur in one of those stalls for a car wash. So when we looked around and they're like, is this a biohazard or whatever? I said, well, I've got 75 cents. And I just put it in the machine and just power washed it off, and it was done. That was after, obviously, they're going to have to photograph it. They're going to have to measure or put a good enough scale in there, meaning a ruler, so that they can determine exactly what size the droplets are, what directionality, where they point, and reference photographs, all kinds of stuff like that. Once they do that, and they do sample testing, so you'll notice in those blood, they're different colors. Like one of them appears to have a lot more brown in it. Some of them appear to be more red. Are those from two different individuals? I don't think so. If I'm looking at who the potential offender is for this, it's probably a young male, and she is an 84-year-old lady with health issues. My guess is it's going to be her blood, but we could be wrong. I doubt it, though. And so you're not just going to test the blood in one spot. You're going to test it in a number of spots, anything that looks different. And you just have to do a sampling that's good enough to stand up in court to say that we did our due diligence and we looked at every angle that we possibly could, and this is what we came up with. So they'll be testing all that blood. The sheriff already said in a podcast late last night that he was submitting that for Rush and it's rapid DNA, but he's sending it to the lab for a Rush. So they'll know. They know already whose blood that is. I'm sure they know, and I'm relatively sure it's hers.
Jeff, I'm outside the house right now. Actually, we were able to confirm that there are signs of forced entry. Have you ever seen a case like this? I mean, 84-year-old woman appears to just vanished.
You know, it's pretty unusual, especially here in the United States. We see these types of cases out of the country that are ransom cases, where the family who resides here in the U.S. gets ransom calls for their family who was kidnapped overseas. But I can't recall even one that matches the fact pattern of this case. And to go back to the blood question you had earlier, I also think it's significant. And I can't tell from the video, but I assume the blood droplets stopped somewhere, and that would suggest that a vehicle would be involved. And if a vehicle is involved, then I'm assuming the investigators are looking for a vehicle. And so when you start to chase video, you may be looking for a video around a specific time.
What do you think they're doing behind the scenes right now, Jeff, in terms of the FBI? Because the FBI assistant special agent in charge was at the press conference today, which she wasn't there yesterday. I mean, there was a feeling today like the FBI is really coming into this now. What do you think they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you from firsthand experience over many years, and many cases like this, if not hundreds of cases like this, this is a whodunit case. Although it's high profile, this is a typical whodunit case. We have a crime scene, we have a victim, but we don't know who did it. And so what is occurring is a series of search warrants that are blanketing the area, that are trying to just acquire all of the electronic evidence in the area for future use. And a team of agents is working on that right now. And what is critical at this point is to acquire not only the evidence at the crime scene, but the evidence from the day before, so you can conduct a comparison. Who was there on the day of the crime, who was not there the day before. And then when the investigators are chasing video, you're adding locations as you're chasing that vehicle down the road as far as you can get it. You're adding geofence locations. You're adding locations to starting to compare electronic evidence, search warrant data. As you're layering that data, eventually you should get a very, very small number of devices. Essentially, you should get one. Because here's the thing, Brian, is it's not just phones anymore. It is cars, it is watches, it is vacuums, it is tablets. So many things we have are connected to the cellular network and connect on a regular basis. And that location information is critical to an investigation like this. So this is paramount to get that information rapidly.
Maureen, what do you make of these ransom notes? I know of at least two. One went to TMZ, and TMZ is saying that there was specific information about what Nancy was wearing and specific information about the inside of the house. Granted, we don't know if any of that's true. And then there's another note
But if
that
it is true, that's a great ransom note. That's what you want.
and there's
You know?
another one that apparently or allegedly went to a local TV station here. My gut is like, don't you think these are just people like messing around trying to make some extra money? Apparently, there's a Bitcoin routing number on one, or do you think these could actually be legit, Maureen?
Well, if they describe exactly what she was wearing and it's definitive enough to dial into that, then yeah, that's a very important letter. And if it is an actual piece of paper, it could, even if they wore gloves, there could be trace DNA on it. And the fact that it was in an envelope and potentially mailed, I don't know, was it mailed? Was it dropped off? Was it? You would imagine it was.
Here's something you may or not be aware of. With a pacemaker, there is a home monitor that can be investigated by cardiologists to determine what the heart rhythms and distress at the time. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay, Faye, I'll go to that in a second here. Let's go to that then. Brian just uploaded an update. Okay, honey, let me go look for that. Thank you, everybody. You're so helpful. Again, it's so hard to have eyes everywhere. Let's go and see where Brian's update is. This is the update, honey. On the scene, hang on. This is his latest update that we're watching right now. Let me just make sure. I'll check the other page. This is his latest update we're watching right now.
I think it was an email. At least to the TMZ, yeah.
Well, yeah, then you can, and they can bounce these IP addresses all over the world, but the technology is, and this is something that probably Jeff can speak to better than I can at this point, but those IP addresses, we can dial into them so much faster and so much better with the help of AI. It's ridiculous. And with the tools that are available, even in my team of PIs and with really expensive, and I mean really expensive software, you can dial into this stuff much quicker than we ever could in the past. But Jeff, what are your thoughts on really honing in on an IP address now as opposed to maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, we can flip an IP address. In minutes now with our ability to go backwards, especially our connections to the ISPs. And really the exigent capabilities we have now. And there's one thing I want to add, Brian. I'll tell you, these cases are unique. These high-profile cases, they bring two things to the table. Two things that the investigators are going through right now. And I'll tell you this: it's management is getting involved, interfering with decision making, and they are slowing down the process. I promise you that.
100%.
100%. Because when a case like this, it becomes management heavy. Normal cases move like a speedboat. This case will move like an aircraft carrier. That is one point I want to make. The other point is, and Maureen knows that, I can tell from the smile. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. And the other point I want to make is, I want to say it gently. Maybe I'll come back to it. I'll think about it.
Throw it out there.
You can say it. You can just put it out there. You're retired now. You can just say it.
Yeah.
Well,
in case you want to
let me think about.
In case you want to bring it up to YouTube, Don, I just deleted your comment because we're going to stay on topic. In case you were interested, this was uploaded 13 hours ago, so your notifications are coming in 13 hours late. Just saying.
How I want to be gentle.
It's interesting you said. It's interesting you said. I would have thought you said it moves like an aircraft carrier instead of a speedboat. I would think when it's a Savannah Guthrie, the opposite would be happening. They'd say, "Let's move this as fast as we can."
Because whenever microphones and cameras are involved, these people just are breathing down your neck because they want to look the best they can look.
Yeah.
It's at a time like this, in a case like this, where you need a honey badger on your squad that has no problem telling.
Hang on, I got booted out, and now we're here twice. And I'm echoing. Okay, is this better? Sorry, no worries, Donna. I'm just trying to keep us on track. Okay, I'm echoing. So we're gonna finish this and we're done.
Anyone to F the F off if need be.
Yeah.
Because
fuck.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they feel like they have the most to lose, and all the line detective wants to do is solve the crime. But they
Okay. Well, I don't know what the F is going on. Okay, I'm gonna call it because the echoing is too much. Hang on. Like, fudge. Hello? Still. Okay, I'm gonna just call it. Sorry, everybody. If you wanna go watch Brian and Anton's full investigation, here it is in the chat. Sorry, everybody. I'll be live at 3, Jack and Lily. I am gonna do an intuitive psychic read, as well as go through the newest rather statements from family since Daniel's arrest for essay crimes. Thanks, Donna. Okay, everybody, we'll see you at 3 Eastern. Love and light. Thanks for being here.